78%. I mean, that is the number of seniors, specifically folks over the age of 75, who were suffering from severe chronic knee pain and who completely avoided joint replacement surgery.
Yeah, which is just a staggering statistic when you think about it.
Right. And, they didn't do it through some experimental drug or like a new type of titanium joint. They did it by committing to a highly targeted 16-week physical routine.
It really completely upends the medical consensus that we've accepted for decades. I mean, we aren't talking about a demographic where the default assumption is just a one-way street to the operating room.
Exactly. So welcome to today's deep dive. We're unpacking a pretty fascinating 2023 study from the British Journal of Sports Medicine. And the mission for this deep dive, for you listening, is to look at how we treat the human body as it ages.
Yeah, because the narrative is usually that, you get older, the structural hardware breaks
You
in.
endure the pain. Right, you endure the pain, and eventually a surgeon replaces the hardware. But this study shows that a vast majority of these patients experience significant pain reduction, stronger knees, and better mobility in just 4 months.
Without going under the knife.
Completely without it.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand how a 16-week routine can outperform joint replacement for, nearly 8 out of 10 people?
Yeah.
We have to look at the underlying physiology. We basically had to change how we fundamentally view the knee joint.
We do. And the core philosophical shift of this text is it's moving away from the idea of hardware failure.
Right.
Like when someone over 75 has terrible knee pain, the immediate visual we conjure up is worn out cartilage, right? We imagine bone grinding mercilessly on bone.
Yeah, just that terrible grinding image.
Exactly. It's viewed purely as a structural deficit. And if the structure has failed, well, the only logical solution is to surgically implant a new one. But this research posits that the primary driver of the pain isn't actually the joint failing. It's the surrounding support system. The muscles have literally fallen asleep.
When I was reading the source material for this, I kept thinking about the mast of a sailboat.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, like if you're out on the water and that mast starts wobbling dangerously in the wind and it's cracking under the pressure, a sailor doesn't immediately chomp it down and replace the wood.
Right, you look at the rigging.
Exactly. You look at the ropes holding that mast upright. If those ropes are completely slack, well, the mast is going to take every single ounce of the stress.
That analogy perfectly captures the biomechanics at play here. The bones and cartilage in your leg, they're the mast, and the muscles are the rigging. In modern life, especially, as we age and sit a lot more, we stop demanding high performance from our leg muscles. So we experience what's called neurological atrophy. The brain literally forgets how to recruit those muscle fibers.
So it's not just that the muscles get smaller, it's that the software running them goes offline.
Precisely. The motor unit recruitment drops. So the rigging ropes go completely slack. And every time you stand or walk or go down a flight of stairs, the knee joint, the mast, is taking the full naked impact of gravity and momentum.
Wow.
The joint hurts because it's doing the job the muscles were supposed to be doing.
So the goal of this 16-week protocol isn't really about the knee at all. It's about waking up the nervous system and tightening those ropes so the mast can, stop taking the wind.
Exactly.
And the text lays out a very specific approach, starting from the ground up, which makes sense. I mean, if you want to fix a wobbling mast, you start with the ropes anchored to the deck.
Right. And in the human body, that means looking at the kinetic chain. Every movement you make is part of a chain reaction that starts literally where you meet the floor. So if we want to stabilize the knee, we have to start at the extremities that dictate how the leg aligns in space. We begin at the ankle.
Okay. Which brings us to exercise number 5 in the protocol. A movement that targets the front of the shin. And the instructions suggest something as simple as sitting in a sturdy chair, keeping your feet flat on the floor, and just lifting your toes up toward the ceiling as high as you can while keeping your heels planted.
Yeah, you're targeting the tibialis anterior. It's the muscle that runs down the outside front of your shin bone.
I have to admit, I read that and immediately felt super skeptical.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure you listening might be wondering the same thing. Wait, doing a zero impact movement where you literally just tap your toes while sitting down?
Yeah.
How on earth does that help a 75-year-old's knee? I mean, 20 slow reps, 3 sets, ideally in the morning. It sounds like an exercise class at a retirement home.
It does. But what's fascinating here is the physics of a human footstep. When you walk, your heel strikes the pavement first. And at that exact millisecond, a massive kinetic shock wave travels right up your leg.
Okay.
If your tibialis anterior is strong, It contracts. It acts as a dampener. It physically slows the foot down from slapping the pavement, and it literally absorbs that kinetic energy into the muscle belly before it can travel up the bone.
Ah, okay. The text actually refers to that shin muscle as a secret support cable for knee stability.
It is. It's the first line of defense. But because modern humans walk on perfectly flat paved surfaces in cushioned shoes and we sit for most of the day, that muscle almost never gets challenged. It goes completely dormant.
The software goes offline.
Yes. And when that shin muscle fails to fire, that kinetic shock wave doesn't get dampened at all. It bypasses the ankle completely, shoots straight up the shin bone, and detonates right inside the knee joint
Yikes.
with every single step you take, tens of thousands of times a day.
So doing those seated toe taps isn't just like busy work. You are manually rebooting that brain-to-muscle connection. You're forcing the body to rebuild its very first shock absorber.
You're catching the force before the knee even knows it exists.
That is incredibly elegant.
Yeah.
So you fix the bottom anchor at the ankle, and then the protocol moves up the kinetic chain to the top anchor, which is the hip.
Right, because the hip dictates the structural alignment of the entire leg.
To target this, the source outlines exercise 3, a standing side leg lift. So you stand behind a chair for balance, keep your posture straight, and slowly lift one leg out to the side. And it's not very high, just like 15 to 30 centimeters.
Right, just a little bit.
But the critical instruction here is not to bend the knee or tilt your torso to compensate. You just lift laterally, hold the tension for 2 seconds, and lower it. 12 reps per side, 3 sets.
What's fascinating here is that this specific movement isolates the gluteus medius. It's a fan-shaped muscle situated right on the side of your pelvis. It's not the primary glute muscle we use for, say, squatting or running. Its main job is lateral stability.
It's a lateral support cable.
Exactly. Think of the architecture of a suspension bridge. You don't just need cables holding the bridge up from the top. You need lateral cables keeping the roadway from swaying side to side in the wind. The gluteus medius is your body's lateral cable.
And the text points out a really crucial biomechanical flaw that happens as we age. Because we mostly walk in straight lines on flat surfaces, we don't engage that side hip muscle. It weakens. And when that lateral cable goes slack, the alignment of the whole leg is compromised.
We call it a valgus collapse. When you take a step, or especially when you step down off a curb, a weak side hip cannot hold the femur, the thigh bone, straight. So the knee naturally wobbles inward toward the center of your body.
The knee just caves in.
Yeah, and that inward wobble is devastating. Your knee is essentially a hinge joint, right? It's designed to move cleanly back and forth. When the hip allows it to cave inward, you're introducing a twisting, shearing force into a hinge joint.
Oh, that sounds painful.
It creates immense uneven pressure on the medial cartilage, which is the cartilage on the inside of the knee.
You're basically driving a car with a bent axle and wondering why the inside of the tire is wearing down to the threads.
That is the perfect way to visualize it. And the surgical approach is to replace the bald tire. But the physiological approach is to realign the axle. By doing those side leg lifts, you're tightening the gluteus medius. You pull the femur back into a neutral, straight alignment. The inward wobbling stops, and that uneven grinding simply ceases.
Wow. Okay, so we have stabilized the ankle dampener and we've realigned the hip axle. Now the deep dive moves to the heavy lifters, the major, massive muscle groups directly attached to the joint itself.
The primary shock absorbers and the range restorers.
Let's talk about the quadriceps on the front of the thigh. The protocol tackles this with exercise 4, the seated leg extensions. You sit upright in a chair, slowly straighten one leg out in front of you until it's parallel to the floor, hold for 2 seconds, and then take 3 slow seconds to lower the back down. 10 reps per leg, 2 to 3 sets, 3 to 4 times a week.
And that slow, eccentric lowering phase is where the magic happens.
Why is that? Like, why is the lowering phase more important than the lifting phase?
Because that's how the quadriceps function in real life to protect the knee. When you walk down a steep hill or descend a staircase, your quads are carrying multiple times your body weight. They have to lengthen while under tension to lower you down safely.
Right.
That eccentric contraction absorbs the gravitational force.
The study specifically notes that strengthening this specific muscle drastically reduces the need for knee replacement surgery.
Absolutely. If the quad is robust, the knee joint essentially floats in a state of suspended animation. The muscle fibers take the brunt of the gravitational load. What's crucial about doing it in a chair, however, is the safety profile. For a senior with severe arthritis, trying to build quad strength by doing deep squats or lunges, That could trigger intense pain and inflammation.
Yeah, definitely.
The seated extension isolates the muscle, demanding that it work and grow without putting any body weight on the inflamed joint.
You're sending the signal to adapt without risking the structure. And speaking of removing the load, here's where it gets really interesting. Because exercise 2 is a movement that you literally perform while lying flat in bed.
The heel slide. It is perhaps the most gentle yet vital component of the entire rehabilitation process.
Yeah, you lie on your back, legs straight out. Then you simply slide one heel along the mattress towards your buttocks, bending the knee as deeply as is comfortable. You hold the bend for 2 seconds and then slide back. 10 reps per leg, 3 sets, twice a day. Usually morning and night. I mean, it seems almost too easy.
It does, but it serves two simultaneous physiological functions. First, it engages the hamstrings on the back of the thigh. We just talked about tightening the quads on the front. Well, you need the opposing ropes on the back to be equally tight to maintain balanced tension on the mast.
Makes sense.
But the second function is arguably way more important for chronic pain sufferers. It safely restores the range of motion by manipulating the synovial fluid.
Let's get into the weeds on synovial fluid for a second, because I think a lot of people just assume their joints are dry and brittle from old age,
Cartilage is a fascinating tissue because it's a vascular.
meaning it doesn't have its own blood supply.
Correct. Your muscles and skin have veins pumping oxygen and nutrients into them constantly. Cartilage doesn't have that luxury. The only way cartilage stays healthy, lubricated, and nourished is through the synovial fluid that surrounds the joint. And the only way that fluid penetrates the cartilage is through mechanical movement.
The source material uses the analogy of a kitchen sponge.
It acts exactly like a sponge. When you bend and straighten the knee, you are physically squeezing the cartilage and releasing it. That mechanical action pushes waste products out and pulls fresh, nutrient-rich synovial fluid in.
But when someone is in chronic pain, their psychological instinct is to protect the joint by not moving it at all.
Which is the worst possible thing they could do. By immobilizing the knee to avoid pain, they stop the pumping action. The cartilage starves. It dries out and becomes brittle. The heel slide in bed allows the patient to bend and flex the knee, pumping that vital fluid through the tissue, completely independent of gravity.
Right, because they're lying down.
Exactly. There is zero weight bearing down on the joint, so there is no pain, but the joint is being actively fed and lubricated.
I love the methodology here. It isn't just a random list of stretches. We've woken up the shock absorbers in the shins, we've lined the lateral cables in the hips, we've built the quads to fight gravity, and we've fed the cartilage by sliding the heels.
We have meticulously reawakened all the isolated components, but the final phase of the protocol is integration. You have to teach all these awakened muscles how to communicate with each other in a compound movement.
Which brings us to the ultimate strengthener. Exercise 1, the wall-assisted mini squat. Now hold on, I have to play devil's advocate here for the listener. We just established that deep squats or lunges are a terrible idea for a 75-year-old with bad knees. Suggesting squats sounds like a recipe for severe pain.
The terminology can be really intimidating, which is why we have to be incredibly precise about the mechanics of this specific movement. We are not talking about a gym squat. This is a highly controlled, static hold against a wall.
Right, the user instructions are very specific. You stand with your back completely flat against a sturdy wall. You step your feet out hip-width apart, about 45 centimeters away from the baseboard, and then you simply slide your back down the wall into a very shallow bend. The golden rule, like the absolute non-negotiable here, is that your knees must stay stacked vertically over your ankles. They can never push forward past your toes.
And that vertical shin alignment ensures that the shearing force on the knee joint is virtually zero.
You're essentially sitting in an invisible, shallow chair, letting the wall carry the structural burden of your torso.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the reason this is the capstone of the entire protocol comes down to a biological process called mechanotransduction.
Okay, let's break that down.
Mechanotransduction is how the body converts physical, mechanical tension into chemical signals that build tissue. When you slide down that wall and hold that shallow squat, you're placing the quadriceps, the hamstrings, and the glutes under steady, sustained, static tension.
They're all firing at once to hold you in place.
Exactly. And that sustained tension is the absolute most potent biological signal you can send to an aging muscle. The muscle fibers sense the load, and they initiate a chemical cascade to build denser, stronger tissue. Think of it like pouring concrete. Concrete by itself is strong, but if you want it to hold up a skyscraper, you run steel rebar through it. The static tension from the wall squat is the body's way of laying down new steel rebar inside the muscle fibers.
So you're flooding the system with the signal to grow, but because the bend is shallow and the wall is supporting your spine, the actual knee joint is completely shielded from danger.
Precisely.
And what I found so brilliant about this study is the progression. They aren't asking seniors to do this for minutes on end right out of the gate.
No, the barrier to entry has to be low enough to prevent discouragement and injury.
The source outlines a progression that is almost absurdly gentle. A beginner simply slides down the wall, holds the shallow squat for just 5 seconds. Then they rest for 30 seconds and repeat it twice. And that's it for the day.
The magic isn't in intensity. The magic is in the compounding interest of consistency.
Exactly. The protocol involves just gradually increasing that hold time week by week, adding just 2 seconds to the hold every week. Do this 5 days a week, and by the end of the 16-week window, the nervous system is fully re-engaged. The muscles have laid down that new skill rebar, the rigging ropes are taut, and the mast is finally secure.
It is slow, methodical, and profoundly effective. However, we are discussing medical interventions that fundamentally alter the body's biomechanics. We do have to address the real-world application and the safety caveats outlined in the research.
We absolutely do. If you're listening to this and thinking about implementing the 16-week protocol for yourself, or maybe walking your aging parents through it, safety is the ultimate priority.
The text is unambiguous on this front. Consulting a physician or a licensed physical therapist before beginning is mandatory. This isn't just boilerplate legal advice. If a patient has a history of recent knee surgery, severe bone-on-bone osteoarthritis, cardiovascular conditions, or, neurological balance issues, these exercises really need to be monitored by a professional.
Because even though we're talking about toe taps and shallow wall slides, these are real functional movements creating real systemic fatigue.
Yeah, demanding that your cardiovascular system deliver oxygen to these newly awakened muscles. You are shifting the structural load of your skeletal system. A doctor needs to evaluate the individual's baseline before they start pulling on those rigging ropes.
So what does this all mean? We started this deep dive with a number that frankly blew my mind. A 78% success rate for reversing severe knee decay in people over the age of 75.
Yeah.
And over the course of unpacking this, we've learned that achieving that reversal isn't about hoping for a surgical miracle or installing titanium hardware.
No, not at all.
It's a quiet 16-week commitment to rebooting the body's software. It's toe taps to dampen the shockwaves, side leg lifts to align the lateral cables, seated extensions and heel slides to build the shocks and feed the cartilage, and wall holds to lay down the rebar.
It is the realization that the body is an interconnected machine, and treating the site of the pain rarely addresses the source of the problem.
This raises an important question, though, doesn't it? When you look at the sheer elegance of this protocol and how it systematically wakes up muscles that society just assumes are gone forever. I mean, it makes you wonder about the broader philosophy of aging.
It certainly challenges the narrative of inevitable decline. We accept a tremendous amount of physical suffering, loss of mobility, chronic aches, the inability to get on the floor and play with grandchildren, because we fundamentally misunderstand our own biomechanics.
Yeah.
We assume the machine is permanently broken because the cartilage is thin, when in reality, the muscular software has just been powered down by a sedentary lifestyle.
We're basically waiting for a mechanic to replace the engine when all we really needed to do was turn the key and let it idle for a while. That is exactly the thought I want to leave you with today as we wrap up. If a highly targeted, scientifically backed 16-week routine of sitting in a chair, lifting your toes, and doing shallow wall holds can literally reverse the need for joint replacement in 75-year-olds just by waking up lazy muscles. What other age-related physical declines that we accept as an inevitable part of getting older are actually just reversible muscle imbalances waiting for the right routine?
The human body is remarkably resilient, provided we give it the right mechanical signals.
It really is an adaptable masterpiece. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. If this conversation resonated with you, or if you have a parent, a grandparent, or a friend who is sitting on a surgical wait list, assuming the knife is their only option, please share this deep dive with them. It just might change the trajectory of their life. Until next time, keep questioning the consensus, keep learning about your body, and keep tightening those rigging ropes.